Okay, so recording now. We're on. We're ready to go. So, just a couple of questions, and we can kind of talk about this as we go along. The first question is, how has God been messing with you in the past couple of months, several months? So we talk in the Joy in Jesus book about how God messes with us, and He's trying to get our attention. So, how has God been messing with you in the past several months?
Well, I think that we always have it, but fear. He really messed with me with fear. There were so many situations, whether it be the virus or my children being away, or um, just many daily things. The unrest, all those things brought fear, and but the more I thought about it, the more I thought that that was the devil doing the work, and that I
Yeah.
needed to more towards Jesus. And it just made me be more in the Word, and it made me more aware of what was going on. And He doesn't want us to be fearful, and there's no reason to be fearful. When you have that deep relationship with Him, to know that we put all our cares on Him. So it opened my eyes, to let the fear go and to be more faithful.
Wow, I'm sure we could have an hour-long conversation just on that. Yeah, I think there's been a lot of conversation about this phrase, faith over fear, and I think that's a really powerful idea. I think it can be a double-edged sword, where people may ask you, so where is your faith if you have fear? Um, and at the same time, I think God calls us to be faithfully trusting Him for our own safety, for the safety of those around us, and He's also called us to care for our neighbor and
Right.
find ways to do that.
Well, I just think, like, when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane and He said, "Not my will, but yours be done." It just reminds us that, it's not me. And that I need to put more of that trust in Him, and lessen some of that anxiety that those things bring.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I said something similar to that in the sermon yesterday, actually, about worry and about how when Jesus says, don't worry about anything, but know that uh, I'm going to take care of you in the same way that I take care of birds and grass. Don't worry about it. Know that I'm going to be there for you. And the way I'm saying it is, oh, if today is my day and COVID is the thing that's going to get me, I know where I'm going. So I'm going to try to live without the fear of even death, even the worst thing that can happen, because I know that there's resurrection on the other side. And in the meantime, I'm going to try to care for the body that God's given me. I'm going to try to care for the people that He's placed in my life, and you know, let God do His will. I think that you're right on in saying that.
Um, I think that was a big one, that, just different, every situation that came up, and then there was reminders of Him saying, the Holy Spirit speaking to me and saying, let that go, let that go. Well, why are you even letting that happen? So, and so that actually, like, my second thing was wait and listen. I'm such a planner in my life, and COVID has really thrown a big wrench into being a planner. And so
Mm.
listening, um, waiting for the Lord to speak, to say what I should be doing next, or, and waiting's hard.
Yeah, what's been the hardest thing to wait for?
Guidance, um, making decisions. And, even it sounds silly, but, we went to go see my son in North Carolina, and
Hmm.
it had been 7 months since I saw him, and that was a really long time for a mom. Um, and but I had to wait until I was comfortable enough to know that I could take the precautions, to know that it was safe for us to interact with him and his girlfriend. You know what I mean? So just the waiting, and that was the Lord saying, "You're going to see him," you know, time, but there's a time when that time is right. So just waiting and listening and being like, okay, a couple days before we went, a friend said to me, "Are you excited?" And I said, "Not yet." And they're like, what do you mean? And I said, because I'm waiting for it to be okay. You know what I mean? I'm still waiting for that confirmation, whether it's coming from the Lord or, to just be like, it's okay. And you're going to go and everything on the trip will be okay, And then we little complications there and, and then it's just waiting again. So we got there and couldn't see him and had to for days, so just listening for that time when the time is right.
Yeah, that takes it takes faithfulness, and it takes discernment. It takes experience with some of these things. One of the ways that I've been talking about it recently, see how this sits with you, when it comes to making some of the bigger decisions, even some of these smaller decisions that feel like big decisions in the moment. If looking for how God is either opening or closing a door, like if the door is open, treat it like an open door until God closes it. Or if it's a closed door, treat it like a closed door until God chooses to open it. How does that resonate with you?
That's pretty much what it is. I always used to, that old saying, when door closes or window closes open, that same thing. And sometimes I think you just need to stand outside the door and see if it's going to wait, going to open. Is that, just giving time. We want everything now. That's, here and now. And God always hears us, but it's in his own time. So that's really what I've been wrestling with, that it's not my time, it's his time. So when that all comes to be, then, that door will open or not.
Right. Does it feel like, especially when you talk about going to see Jason, did you hit a point where you realized, okay, it's going to be okay, and then you could kind of step into that enjoyment of that moment?
I did once. We were, he had a COVID scare at work, so he was quarantined for a couple of days while we were there. Thankfully, that all worked out, and that was actually at the point where I was like, okay, there was no COVID, so we can move on from that. And it was, and I enjoyed every moment from there on. You know what I mean? It was super enjoyable, and I guess that's that door opening, and you're like, okay, Lord's like, okay, it's time. It's time to get there.
The door is open, and you just want to run through and embrace the things that are on the other side of it.
Right. Yeah.
Well, when you said wait, the thing that came to mind was that passage. I think it's from Isaiah. I'm usually bad with references, but about those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. And what a hard lesson to learn, and a something that only comes with a lot of wrestling with God, because like you said, we want things now, but how renewing it is when on the other side of that, we can look back and say, it didn't take as long as it felt like in the moment to get to that spot. And now that I'm through that door and into a place where there's goodness, there's renewal there. Did you feel renewed after seeing him for a little while?
I think the whole family, you could see in expression, and we didn't ever, unfortunately, get to hug because of the virus. But everyone's heart was filled, even Jason's girlfriend, because she hasn't seen her family. It was goodness for her to be with a family, and feel that kind of love that they haven't had in 7 months. They've been kind of on their own out there. So, there's lots of goodness there. Lots of goodness.
I'm so glad to hear that. That's encouraging. I think these are the things that we need to be shining a light on. So thanks for being willing to talk about this, a couple things. And I think everybody's learning different things at different times. Is there anything else that you've learned in the midst of this that you like to share?
I just go back to being a child of God, when there was so much unrest. I just thought we are all children of God, and it doesn't matter, what our race, any of those things, in our heart, and we should be all children of God. So it makes it hard to have so much controversy on all that, and And instead of making controversy, I think that just being a light, being the light of Jesus is more important than, and showing that we're all children of God. So that was a big one for me. Just continue to be the light. I turned the radio on, and Ray had been in my car, and there was country music on, which I'm not a big country fan, but and the song today was about being a light. And in this difficult time, and I don't even know who the artist was, but it's a current song. And I was like, wow, yeah, that's exactly what it's about. It's not about anything else. It's just, showing the love for Jesus and, and building up the kingdom, not destroying the kingdom. So,
right. Yeah. I think I had some very similar thoughts and feelings when there was all that unrest and the tragedy with George Floyd is it's hard to wrestle with because of the cultural context we live in, and it's complicated. I think there's a lot of history working against things that look like the light, and I totally agree with you that like every human being is made in the image of God, and I like to say I want to treat people not by the ways that I want to classify them and say you look like this or you say this, so that's how I'm going to treat you. The fundamental way I treat everyone is you're a person for whom Jesus died. And even if you don't know who the light is, I know who is the light of the world. And I'd like to point you to him. And I'm sure that you're shining a light to a certain degree, but I want you to know the source of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So those were those things. I mean, of course, we all wrestled with lots of things.
Yeah. And I'm sure there are many more things to wrestle with as we go along. But the one thing I have noticed, and I'm sure you have as well, is that God is faithful in the midst of all of that. Even when we are faithless and feel like we're set adrift and have lost our bearings and confused about where things are going, he's the God who always cares for us and remains faithful.
Yeah, I always refer now back to Hebrews 13:8. I'm the same yesterday, today, and forever. So that I always, people are saying pre-COVID and after COVID, and but he's the same no matter what. So that's what we need to base everything on, and so that didn't change.
Right.
Our broken world continues to change, but that didn't change.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thanks for being willing to have a little conversation about that. And I pray that, and I know it's not just you and me wrestling with these things, but thanks for giving some words to some of the stuff we're all thinking. And I know that God's going to benefit the kingdom as we continue to strive together to be disciples of Jesus who make disciples of others.
Yeah. Yep. That's what it's all about.
Very good. Thank you.
Uh-huh.